Hi, I'm Renée Walker, a mindset mentor, speaker, and lover of all things spiritual. I believe that at our core, we are all spiritually wired for love, peace, success, and abundance. Here on the podcast, we're diving into mindset, wellness, and business, but always through a spiritual lens. Let's just say we're going deep, but we're keeping it light. So let's elevate your life from the inside out, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. Welcome back to the Spiritually Wired podcast. We have a very special guest with us today. I have Jodi Wellman, and Jodi is a speaker. She is the author of You Only Die Once. She's also the founder of 4,000 Mondays, and she has a master's in applied positive psychology. Her work is rooted in the idea that we only get about 4,000 Mondays, so how we choose to live them matters. So you can see why I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Welcome so much to the podcast, Jodi.
Oh, Renée, I am so excited to get to chat with you. And lest anybody now be doing that, wait a minute, do I press stop on the listening button? We're going to have so much fun. It's not all about death. It's using death as a motivator to live. So I do feel the need always to provide that initial anti-disclaimer.
I can imagine. And, for me, when I was researching and learning more about you, you see, I get excited in the sense that having been studying spirituality for so many years, one thing that became clear is that we can't really speak of life and truly embrace it without being willing to speak of death or mortality.
Yes.
It's something that every single person will go through, yet it is a very uncomfortable and very difficult subject for most people to speak about for reason. So I love how you've reframed it in such a positive way. And maybe we start there with what was the catalyst for you? What shifted that whole concept?
Yeah. Well, I just want to touch on the fact that, you're super right. Like death being the number one no thank you topic, most people head for the hills. And it's totally normal to have a sense of denial around this topic because it also speaks to how we genuinely have this desire to live. And so why would we be talking about this crappy topic of the ending? Like, let's just, I don't know, pour another cocktail or something. I became intrigued by this topic. I mean, always have been fascinated by the juxtaposition of this, like, let's live our best lives, let's do this. And then all of a sudden one day we're going to just die. And we usually don't know when. That just was always seemed odd to me, even as a child. But fortunately, more of sort of an amusing, curious type of absurdity. There's a branch of philosophy called absurdism, and it sort of falls under this, like, wait, what, really? That's interesting. And yet we go along our merry way and still don't want to talk about it. Again, maybe it's, it's protective, but I don't know, I guess the origin story for me about why this Carpe Diem topic really overtook my life and my career was my mom died when she was in her late 50s, and it was of a heart attack, and it was unexpected. And this is not a grief story, by the way. So grief is its own wild beast. I don't study that, but what I'm interested in was my experience when I was cleaning out her place. So she lived in a small town north of Toronto, and here I am putting all of her dreams in garbage bags. I'm not even exaggerating. I am prone to exaggeration, but this is clear. Like, I was taking these business cards that she'd printed, these ideas. She wrote manuscripts. Okay, I didn't really throw all those out, but drawings, and she had all these ideas for this creative life that she didn't execute on. And so I kind of, in my book, I call it the land of dormant intentions. And it wasn't just that I felt the gross emotion of pity for her having died with all these coulda, shoulda, wouldas. But in all honesty, it was just because I looked and I was like, oh, this is a giant mirror up in front of my face. And I realized I was also prone to maybe dreaming and not doing. And then I thought, getting to the end and feeling a sense of regret, to me now, it just felt, it felt like the saddest thing that could possibly be. And so I have a healthy fear of that. And so it's sort of this hell-bent mission about let's live before we die. And also just what are we waiting for? Right?
Absolutely. Um, the 4,000 Mondays. So I know you speak of like the 4,000 Mondays. Where did that start, or what was that realization?
Yeah. I've always been aware, even just back in my earlier career, sort of working in business, that sometimes we have to break things down to the ridiculous in terms of numbers.
Mhm.
Most of
Mhm.
us have an idea that we're going to live to around 80. So, men 78, women 83-ish. And I think that sometimes phrasing it in terms of the hours or the weeks or the days can sometimes be more riveting. Well, then if I was going to pick a day, I'm like, okay, roughly 4,000 is the way the math generally works out around the 80-year mark for the 4,000 weeks. But then I chose Mondays on purpose because if I had picked Saturdays, oh, it's like slam dunk. Life's great.
Yeah.
Like my life's fine. I wanted to rankle a bit and I wanted us to think and go, wait a minute, 4,000 Mondays. Okay, like for me, I've already burned through more than half of them. I'm on a downhill slope here. I did the math yesterday, just as an aside, because this is part of my workshops and all that I do is like, let's count how many Mondays we have left. So I've got 1,714. And I'd been over counting my Mondays. I mean, I don't know how I did it. I've been messing up my mortality math for a year now, and I do this for a living. But anyway, so I just lost a bunch of Mondays all of a sudden because my calculator was shoddy, like more like the person using it. So Mondays, though, are these, it's like a visceral test of waking up at the start of your week, especially if you're still in your working years, right? It's like,
Mhm.
do I want to embrace this week? Do I want to get out of bed with a semblance of enthusiasm and passion and some interest? Or is this like, oh, for God's sakes, countdown to Friday? And what
Mhm.
kind of life do we want to live? Because ultimately, we have agency. It's hard, but we can change our reality so that Mondays don't have to be monstrous.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful when you put a number to it because, as you said, it shifts from being this big idea of like, yes, I have this one life,
Yeah.
which can feel big and there's so much time. And yet, when you look at it as how many Mondays do I have? How many
Right.
weeks do I have? It does give it a whole other type of sense of, is urgency the right way? And do
Yes.
you want is the idea behind it to give people a sense of urgency? Like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up because I now am tuned in more than ever to the outcome that comes from this concept of temporal scarcity. So the science behind it is called temporal scarcity, and it's anytime you take anything that is like an asset, say, and you
Right.
represent it as being limited or rare, whether it's like a precious gem in the earth or
Mhm.
pumpkin spice lattes that only have a limited time to them or something that is temporary and limited. When we frame it like that, our perceived value of it tends to increase. And so that's what we're doing here
Mhm.
with our lives. But we're not talking about a stupid drink at Starbucks, which actually I think is gross anyways. So we're talking about our one wild and precious life, like poet Mary Oliver said. Like, wait,
Yes.
this feels a little bit like morbid, dude. What are we doing here? And
Yeah.
so I do want to be honest. Your results may vary. You may look at the number and feel nothing. You may look at it and think that's a lot of time. You may look at it and think that's not a lot of time, and it may bother you or concern you or not at all. It is intended to create a healthy amount of that sense of scarcity.
Yeah.
And by the way, I used to work as a coach, and it's sort of blasphemous for most coaches because it's about scarcity versus abundance, and it should be all about abundance. Yeah, but unfortunately, that's not as motivating for humans.
Yeah.
So I study
Yeah.
psychology, and this is unfortunately we need the either the little kick in the ribs or the behind, and we need the scarcity enough to go, oh, like if I had 1,714 Mondays, why have I not booked the trip yet to
Mhm.
go to this place I've always said I want to go? Like, again, back to what am I waiting for?
Yeah.
So urgency is part of it, but not intended to be urgency with anxiety.
Mhm.
It's meant to be a little bit of that, oh, now I get to clarify maybe my priorities. Now I get
Mhm.
to hopefully look at this remaining time with a sense of passion and, again, helping to distill what matters because, again, because of scarcity.
Yeah, and I mean, I always come down to like it always comes down to the two opposing forces, right?
Mm.
Love or fear. So it's like scarcity, but coming from a place of love, not you're not coming at it from a place of fear of like, oh my gosh, I only have these many Mondays, but
Yeah.
it's I have these Mondays and what do I get to do? So I love that reframe. And also, I
Mm.
mean, we do often need a kick in the butt, right? That's just the reality. I know I recently this past year turned 50 and that was a sense of okay, well, what am I waiting for? Like at what point? So with age we kind of tend to naturally get to that space, but
Yeah.
not always.
Yeah.
And I think we do get so comfortable in the time like oh next year or next year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, first of all, we are living these weird parallel lives because I also just turned 50
oh,
and
did
we're
you?
from the same part of the world. This is so cool. And yeah, and yeah, there are these things in psychology they call boundary situations that
Mhm.
can wake us up. So it could be turning an age, they say with a zero is usually pretty riveting for people, but it could be a life event, right? Like retiring or like getting married or being divorced or having a baby or moving, something that is a giant event. Or even the subtle things for some of us, it's like when the grays are totally unmanageable, when we maybe lose like for a lot of people, I had this wake up when I realized when I turned 40, like I need reading glasses. What is going
Mhm.
on? Like this wasn't supposed to happen to me. It happens to other people, but I don't. Anyway, these moments that are just these little or large, inciting events for
Mhm.
the reminder that life is short. And again, that again is why I am insistent upon we need a lot of visual reminders, the math reminders, because it does jar our tendency to just slip into autopilot and slip into that taking for granted belief that I will do it later. And
Mhm.
I guess I just feel like I have to bust myself all the time. I'm my number one client where I need to be reminded to live. That's a line by Nietzsche, is that man is the only animal who needs to be reminded to live. I
Mhm.
need the reminder because it's my inkling to just either play it safe or be the homebody or back to fear, back that's the fear connection to playing it safe, but also just I'm just tired. Like, do I have to go to the concert tonight? Well, but no,
Mhm.
but you want to go to the concert, like, don't you? So it's looking at our lives and thinking, are we postponing them? Because if we're
Mm.
saying I'll do it later, I'll do it when work dies down, or when the kids are out of the house, or when I get more fit, or when we have more money. I mean, there are a million fill in the blank things we could use as excuses to live later. And I'm just here to say, like, could we all just maybe put up like a little, wait a minute, like who's taking a stand for living now? Like, what about today? What about this year? Because not only maybe I mean, it's unlikely that you're going to die and not get to go to Prague. I'm not trying to say that, but it's also just about, well, why wouldn't we go to Prague sooner than later? And I chose an example, by the way, that was just a bit limiting, right? Because that takes some time and
Mhm.
money to do. But you get the point, right? Like why, like
Mhm.
let's stop punting life.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a very so important. And it's interesting when you were saying that, like we moved a couple of years ago, and part of my new walking path, like one of the first times that I was walking, and it's on the lake by our house, and I saw this stone that, and it makes me emotional just thinking about it. But it's the stone that was designed for a friend, this woman, and her birth date was the year 1975, which is the year that I was born, and it was a like in loving memory of her, and it just stopped me in my tracks. And now every time I walk, I always go to the stone. I always see it because it's that I don't know her, but it's this reminder of she didn't get to live that extra, year. And so whenever also, I mean, we get to a point where, yes, like your body changes. That's been a fun ride.
Yeah.
Getting used to all of these changes. And yet we also get to be here and to experience that change in our body and to see it in a different way. But it's so powerful, the shift, right?
I love your example. And by the way, you just used the words that I tend to say, but I say it with a little bit more like unbridled, annoying enthusiasm. I like, we get to be here. That's how usually I say it with that odd intonation. Like, oh my God, like we get to be here. And that person that was like, there looks like a
Mhm,
commemoration stone. Is that what you were seeing? Like
mhm.
what you're seeing?
Yeah.
Wow, that they didn't. And I am a fan of every now and then walking through the cemetery, being mindful. I every now and then will flip through obituaries. I have a big book on my table, which is like the New York Times giant book of obituaries, and every now and then I'll just flip through and recognize an
Mm,
interesting life. But the this is an interesting point about the interplay where other people's misfortunes in life. So even when we know someone has an illness, right? A friend is diagnosed, for example, with cancer, or you lose someone in your life. I always want to be delicate around that experience that there's grieving that has to happen, there are emotions that exist, and it's not an or, it's an and. These are undeniable wake up calls for us that I think we can leverage in order to really look inward and say, wait a minute, wow, like how lucky am I? Like we get to be here. Like I get to be here right now without breast cancer. And let's all just knock on wood, right? And I
mhm.
get to, wow. And, and, my friend is grappling with something that it's, while it's a wake up for her too, which is a totally different topic, about
Yeah.
how near death experiences and wake up like that can be really profound for people. But for the rest of us watching and the rest of us who are the grievers of people who have died, that coexistence of missing someone and grieving can also be the, and yet, how do I want to make sure that I still show up for life and live the life that I want to live that's going to make me feel like when I get to the end that I did it justice? Because this is a very visceral reminder, maybe visceral because your Kleenex is still wet from your tears, or you just
Mm.
came and took your friend to chemo and you're driving home and you're going like, whoa, this is all so fragile. And I needed that reminder, damn it, that I want to make sure I am being thoughtful and intentional about how I'm choosing to live my life.
Mhm. Mm. Now, if someone is listening and they are thinking of maybe the dreams they have that they've been putting on the back burner because waiting for the perfect time, because that's one that we hear often, right? It's waiting for the perfect time. But so it's the dreams maybe that they have, or maybe it's the uneasiness that they're feeling. Maybe they're not happy where they are in the job that they're doing, or something feels off, yet they keep postponing it, they keep delaying it. How can you help someone who is maybe listening to you feeling like, yes, you're so right, it's time to start living,
Yeah.
yet maybe they're feeling overwhelmed with where to start? Like, where do I even start?
Right. Yeah. And isn't it funny that like this desire that we have to live is also potentially riddled with the burden of choice of all the things that we want to do. Sometimes the bucket list can be problematic, right? I want to do lots of things. And where do I start? I know what I'll do. I'll just watch Netflix. That's usually my MO. Um,
Yeah.
I love the idea first of starting with looking at the parts of your life that maybe are sometimes it's whispering, sometimes it's just like karate chopping you. Like, what is it telling you? And I look at life like a framework of we want to ideally live wider with vitality, and those are the fun experiences, the things we do that feel like happiness, joy, pleasure. It's like trying the new restaurant, going on the trip, going and doing the, I don't know, the skydiving you wanted to do, or anything that feels like it's the fun and exciting kind of vitality, life's getting lived. That's one spectrum. And then some of us right now are already like, no, I'm fine there. But most of us, to be honest, are like, I think I want more. How do I have more fun or enjoyment or pleasure? And then there's the living deeper area, which is the offsetter to living wider. Living deeper is more associated with meaning and purpose and quality connections to loved ones, or spirituality in your world, especially Renee, right? Connecting to something bigger than you, and evoking wonder and awe and the big, deep stuff of life. And that can come from altruism. It can come from connection, all sorts of ways. So again, does somebody listening right now feel like, yeah, that's right, I want more of that? Or, no, I'm okay, I've got enough meaning. I just want to go back to the fun part. And so all we can do is one thing at a time. And so it's sort of like a diagnostic of like, well, where have you flatlined? Okay, all my language is always around the death stuff. Where do you need the AED on you? You know, is it that you want to have more width and with fun and pleasure, the vitality, or is it that you want more depth? And ultimately, you just have to pick one of them. Research is clear that it's often easier if we're feeling like we're in the dead zone because we're lacking maybe in both the vitality and the meaning. It's often easier to just do a bit of a kickstart with vitality, right? Because that could just look like, well, let's go try that cocktail bar tonight. Woo, we did something new. Well, obviously, I'm not, I'm a fan of cocktails, but you don't have to. It could be that, wow, I really just wanted to go and try walking around that new neighborhood. Oh, and I explored and I went and I did that. And oh my gosh, I was talking to a friend last week who said she's been driving around in her town. She's kind of newish. Last few years, she's moved to this town. And she said, I've always driven by this place that looked interesting. It looked like maybe an art place. So one day I drove by and I actually it was inconvenient, but I stopped the car, turned down the side street, turned around. I mean, already most of us are like, yeah, I wouldn't do that. I'm already driving. But she made the effort to turn and then park and go into this place. And she said she learned it was this really cute art gallery. And the woman that was there had said, actually, we put local residents' art up. Do you have anything you'd like to put on the walls? And this is, of course, like this woman's dream. I took a sidebar, but I think it was a good one for like, why not just go explore? But I think it's about diagnosing, is it that you want more width? Do you want more depth? Pick one thing that will allow you to feel alive and do it. And my focus, honestly, I call it one small thing, because for most of us, we are busy and maybe we have been living a bit smaller than we want to. And it just feels a bit daunting to decide I'm just going to kickstart my life. So sometimes it is just the one small thing that will make you feel like you'd made a small step towards feeling like the kind of person who is living rather than buying and passing time. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So beautiful. And so, I love how you bring it back to it feels so simple and easy the way in which you explain it. You see, I can even go to like, okay, the big dreams, getting out of the relationship that's been heavy. It has to be the big thing when it doesn't actually have to mean that you have to like change your life and make big drastic changes. Where have you flatlined? I think is such a powerful question for people to ask, because everyone can probably connect with an area of their life where, yeah, they do feel like they flatline. That's a great place to start. And it can be in the simple ways. It doesn't have to be the big drastic. I mean, sometimes in energizing yourself, you have the strength to maybe make the bigger changes that, are kind of there.
You're so right. There's research that talks about how sometimes it's about back to strength. Like, okay, fine, we'll use that
Right.
metaphor, like building a muscle where if there is a big thing, and let's be honest, for a lot of us, those are the big looming things, right? Like I had
Mhm.
a big, heavy, in my life years ago when it was like, I need to change my career, but I don't know how. And it's really a problem in my life because I can't figure out how I want to apply all the stuff I want to do. And that career thing was big. Same thing. I struggled with eating disorders for years and it was one of those big things. Okay, so we all have our own thing, right? Whether it is
Yeah.
about the big relationship, the career thing, the whatever, you name it. For many of us, we need to start by demonstrating to ourselves that we take votes and we make choices and we take chances on the small side initially, back to building up that muscle. And there's a message that we send ourselves in the psychological terms, where if I say to myself, I really want to be the kind of person that goes, I want to walk and I want to maybe stretch in the mornings and maybe I want to do a gratitude journal. Okay, well, first of all, those are 3 things and I'm just piling on and that's actually not what to do. But let's just say we're starting with this a gratitude journal, right?
Yeah.
You do a gratitude journal and after 2 weeks of doing it, most nights of the week, you can say, I'm the kind of person who makes time for this. I'm the kind of person who stops and takes care of her life and has built this cool thing in that makes me feel better about my experience of being alive. That's the thing, is starting to send yourself messages. I'm the kind of person who, and then when you start to do a few more of those things, well, then all of a sudden you're the kind of person who gives a shit about her life and then says, I'm going to maybe it's worth it for me now to figure this relationship thing out. Or maybe I do need to just swallow a courage pill and apply for that program so I can go and get a new job. Or again, you fill in the blanks. It can be a gradual building of that confidence of aliveness.
It's one of my favorite concepts is the whole identity piece behind. So it's less about like what we're doing, but it's who we are and the process, that I'm the kind of person that's accessible for everyone, right? I'm the kind of person who wakes up and I choose to do something for myself before I go on my phone, or I'm the kind of person. What a great reminder.
Well,
I use it in the opposite sometimes where it's
yeah.
like, oh, right, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Do something or, react in a people pleasing way or say yes when I want to say no or compare whatever it may be, all of those beliefs that all of us have in some ways that keep us smaller maybe. Now it's oh yeah, no, I don't do that anymore.
Oh, a friend of mine, I love that so much. A friend of mine lost her sister, unfortunately, unexpectedly, to a heart attack too. And she now says this thing. It's like her refrain is like, "Yeah, I don't have time for that." Like, whatever the wording is that resonates with you, but like, yeah, I don't have time for that. Like saying yes to that request that like actually it feels like an obligation. I don't have time for that. This is the thing. This is why when we start to get really, I'm going to say just crass and bold about looking at it like, dude, you're dying. That
Yeah.
can be the very motivator of like, why would I mess around? Like my time is limited. I got less than half of it left. Like I do not want to squander this.
Mhm.
Why wouldn't I make the move? Or why wouldn't
Mhm.
I break up? Or why wouldn't I send out the book proposal even though it makes me nervous? Like what do I have to lose? I'm dying.
Yes. Yes. It's so true. There's no
Might as
way
well make
around it
something of this
either.
time.
Oh, so true. You need to record that so people can push the button. So Jodi can remind us, hey, dude, you're dying. You might as well do whatever.
I feel
Whatever's
like it
on
also
your little
needs,
brain right now, do it.
I think like a good shaking of the shoulders is also effective. Maybe there's like a button that also shakes your shoulder or like gently slaps you in the face. Like we've been
Yes.
talking, this is where my inclination is to be like, I told you, I say one small thing. It's like, because I
Mm,
know that most of us with like behavior psychology, like we build on our habits and things. But I also think I sell short. For
mhm.
some people, we need a grand sweeping gesture. So let's not stop anybody here listening who's like, wait a minute. Yeah, my time is short. And my sister did die, and I want to get on with it. And so why wouldn't I pack up and move to Portugal? Like,
Yeah.
and I write a blog every Monday, and I have the pleasure of interacting with people who read it. And they're like, we decided to move just yesterday on Monday after I published the one article. Someone said, I got up the gumption and I moved my family to the East Coast. And we are so happy now that we've done this thing. And I just feel so excited that I've done it. And can I say, so sometimes it's like, I'm not suggesting you press the detonate button necessarily,
Mhm.
but if sometimes it's like you need to kind of just go for it, it's like jumping in the deep end of the pool. For me, I've
Mhm.
got it like, I don't want to wade in. Don't make me get into a cold pool slowly. I just would rather jump. So you do your style. So I don't want to. Again, we don't want to leave out the just go for it approach.
Yeah.
But fear is one of the things you talk a lot about, Renee. And I think that like for most of us, it's about what if I go and it doesn't work out? Like, well, what if I move my family to the East Coast and it was like a total, oh, whoa, big mistake. Or I quit this job and I went to the other one and the grass was in fact not greener. Well, here's the reality. Most of us are not going to do something super impulsive without checking into it, right? So we're going to do a bit of diligence and then let's weigh out the options. Let's fast forward time. Let's say you make a move or you quit the job and start a new one. And you go, wow, this thing didn't quite pan out as I had expected. Is that and all that goes along with that not better than getting to the end and feeling like I never showed up and actually tried? I never got on the field of my life and took that risk. And who knows what could have happened if I did try and work for that company, because I could have been happy. And so for most of us, even when something quote unquote didn't work out, we don't crawl in a hole and die. We actually end up feeling like, I'm proud I did it. Yeah,
Yes.
it didn't work out, but you know what? Then I went and found another job, and that was actually even better because X, Y, Z. So
Yeah.
the taste of coulda, shoulda, woulda, like the regret of what could have happened, is
Yes.
usually a lot worse than the okay, but then I figured it out.
100%. I believe that so much. I don't think we
Yeah.
ever regret trying something, even though I don't even believe that we fail, because it is usually a redirection, or there's a reason why you felt called to do that in the first place. So when you really lean into the reason why, so maybe, yes, it was to be redirected somewhere else, but
Yeah.
when you can really trust, and that's where I find the intuition piece, the learning to be with those nudges and to listen to them and to where we're feeling called, is so important and so challenging these days because of all of the loud external noises in the world, right? So to really pay attention to what do I want?
Yeah.
I always say, like, my journey started with being part of a life coaching group 20 some years ago, and my coach asking, and it was the very first session. And at the time, like, our kids had toddlers, and I was happy. Like, I didn't start going because I felt unhappy. I just wanted a night out, off from the kids. That's what it was about. But anyhow, she just asked, like, "What do you really want?" And I had no idea. Like, she asked me that question, and I thought to myself, "Why is it so difficult for me to ask that question?" And it's not that I'm unhappy, it's just I've never really asked myself that, because I've spent my life doing what's expected, or
Mm.
what, everyone else does, and not really being as intentional. So a lot of being alive, the way you speak to me, is that, like, do what you want to do, but figure that out too.
Oh, the figuring out you highlight. So I used to coach people one-on-one, and it would be a fascinating thing where I would ask the question about what sort of things make you happy. And often it was gendered. It was women caregivers who were like busy working. And I could tell you what my kid's favorite colors are. I could tell you what he likes to eat, but like, wait, what really? And even the question about like, what's your favorite color would be jarring for people. Like, I don't even know anymore. That is fascinating. And the exercise that comes out of that, because
Yeah.
we lose the plot. Like, whether it's because we're caring for other people or just because we're busy or we haven't prioritized or really just stopped to think, wait a minute, like I do have likes and desires and hopes and dreams, and like it starts small, right? Which is like, what's your favorite thing to eat? And then it can grow up to like, what would be the biggest thing you'd love to do before you go, as
Yeah.
in like die.
Yeah.
I like the exercise of writing out a list of 30 things that make you happy and things that make you
Mm.
feel alive. But the rule of thumb is that they need to be things that are generally within reach of your life. And so you wouldn't be able to put on there, yachting around the Mediterranean. Like that might make you feel very happy, but it just wouldn't be something you would do regularly. I mean, if you do that regularly, well, high five to you.
For you.
But for most people, this is the cool thing I find. It is about usually the sweet and simple pleasures of life that when someone stops and thinks, and by the way, there's usually looks of like blank stares. I do this in workshops,
Mhm.
blank, like people are like, wait, what? what do I like? Oh my God, why do I not know what I like? Oh my God. And then once you get over that judgment, and then once we start sharing some ideas in the room, it starts to flow a little bit more, right? Like, oh, I actually really love, like reading a fiction book. And by the way, a lot of people have to give themselves permission to read fiction because for a long time, a lot of people would just be, oh, I only read business books or like self-help books. This coming from the woman that wrote a self-help book. Don't not read my self-help book, but also if you want to read fiction, read fiction. What do you want to do? But like, right, like I would love to, I love, I don't know, a bath with like a glass of something bubbly, or oh, I really just love sitting outside with a cup of tea, looking at the birds, or and so like
Mm.
something that feels so, again, like cheap and cheerful, and yet like, are we making time to do that? Like I love like handwriting notes. I'm like, okay, if I'm busting my, like, when was the last time? I mean, I do it generally regularly, but for something that I know makes me feel so good, I haven't done it for like 3 weeks. Well, that's like, let's just use me as an example right now. And I'm not going to beat myself up because I have been known to every now and then try to show compassion to myself. But like, honey bunny, like if you know this is one of your secrets to feeling alive and makes you feel good, I should be doing it in theory like every 3 days at least, right?
Mm.
Because it's just the cost of a
Mhm.
stamp. Is there an example, by the way, as I'm saying this, Renee? Like, is there something you just, it's like simple, a pleasure, but you love it and it makes you feel alive and happy?
Mhm. Well, I'm cheap and cheerful, I think is a really good way to describe these types of, again, like you said the word, like we've lost the plot, and I think
Mm.
that's really landing with me too because we overcomplicate so much. And now, even thinking back of when I started in the self-help personal development world 20 some years ago and what it is today. I mean, then you had these few books here and there. Now it just seems like we're all on this quest, which I think is beautiful to want to really get to know yourself and to explore and to want more depth. And at the same time, like we're here to experience this human life. We're here to experience the joy of the simple things that we can
Mm.
do. And we forget that. And I know personally, I have to really, there's this fine line, right? Because it's, am I playing small? Am I holding myself back? Am I being, let's say, quote, lazy? Or is it that I want to, like, my favorite thing is a lazy Sunday morning of just, yes, going for a nice walk, reading, not feeling, turning off my quote work brain, which
Uh-huh.
I find is a bit of a challenge because I love what I do and I'm passionate about it. And at the same time, yeah, like put your feet on the grass and just be in the moment and let yourself enjoy it. And it doesn't even matter what I'm doing, but just really, truly not feeling the need to produce, right?
Oh,
Just being in that.
oh yeah. Right. I have so many people listening right now are like, you're speaking to my soul, Renee. It's so true. And we just need to start like a Sunday morning club, which maybe then extends
Yes.
to other mornings and afternoons. But that feeling of, I just feel like a nice exhale listening to you describe that. I love that for you and I love that for us. And
Mhm.
here's it where if we don't tune in and say, like, this is the thing that gives me a feeling of peace. And I say peace because that sounds like something that you might want, and maybe that's not even the word, but I'll just put it in. And then back to the idea about like other people, if they've said, when I was describing, you might want to live wider with vitality, it's like the fun and busy stuff of life. Someone might be like, that's me because I've been working so hard and looking after my elderly parents. My life is so, I just want to go out and let loose and have fun. And I want to go to New
Mhm.
Orleans on Mardi Gras or whatever. Like, then it is back to the tuning in. Like, what do you need and want right now, which could change? And
Mhm.
what would be something that could make you feel again that votive, like, like proud of yourself for living. And this now relates to this concept of savoring. It's a big deal in positive psychology. It's like having something, savoring, you can savor the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing like the Sunday morning walk, you're walking around, and whether you're, you know, in your home, like looking at the stone by the lake, or whether you're in Florida and you're looking at some kind of a caterpillar on the ground or whatever it is, savoring the moment.
Yeah.
But we can savor the past, you know, looking
Mm.
through photos or reminiscing about a great time. And one of my favorites, though, is because I am very much like, I love the future. It's savoring positive anticipation. So having something to look forward to. And we get to do that because if we say to ourselves, for example, I really want to, okay, I'm going to use that New Orleans example. Well, you could technically book a trip. And even if it's next year because of finances or time or whatever, and it's in your calendar, oh man, do you not think that that's the thing you're like, oh, I'm so looking for? Like, actually, a lot of research shows that anticipating a trip is actually higher on the scores of satisfaction
Mm.
and well-being than actually going on the damn trip.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
having something in your calendar, I always say you want something to look forward to in the next week, month, and year. And
Mm.
usually they're very silly things like, not, it doesn't have to be silly. I don't mean that literally. For me, it's usually a silly thing. Like tomorrow's National Waffle Day. I'm showing up for National Waffle Day, Renee. Um, but it could be that you're really just looking forward to, maybe you got like a friend in town and you're going to have like a happy hour on Friday, just something that you're just looking forward to it, but have that.
Mm.
And have
Mhm.
that within the next month too. So there's a little thing there to kind of go, ooh, even though today is a dumpster fire, ooh, I'm looking forward to that thing on the horizon. And then it
Yeah.
could be something bigger. So those are ways that, those are little, again, I call them hacks, but they're just
Yeah.
ways to just, we're just trying to love our lives, and sometimes even just like them, and sometimes even just not like them.
Yeah. I love the savoring, the
Mm.
word savor, to savor, and to also the way you framed it too, savoring the past, savoring the moment, savoring the future, like anticipating things. That is so beautiful. Now you have what you call your 5 to alive concept, and I know we've been talking about some of them throughout this conversation, but
Yeah.
can you maybe wrap it up for us? Like, what does it look like, your 5 to alive concept?
Yeah, happy to. The first one is counting your Mondays. And that, yeah, if we are not interested in math, I do not blame you. Clearly, I messed it up for like a whole year. You can go on my website on the resource page. There's just a calculator that can help you calculate how many Mondays you have left. So there's that. Again, for consistent little reminder that you're limited and therefore it's precious.
Mhm.
And then the second thing is this concept am I just love it. It's about identifying your pregrets. And so this is the good old fashioned deathbed regret exercise where imagine, tonight's the night, sorry, but time's up and you look back and what would be the things you would be kicking yourself for that you didn't do?
Mm.
So could it be, I'm going to use some of our examples from our conversation today. Could it be like, man, I never went to New Orleans, or I never did the skydiving I always wanted to do, or I never did the book that I wanted to write that because I just, and if there's a thing that despite all the morphine on your deathbed that you would feel, oh man, that is a great indication of like, oh, sweetheart, you are not dead yet. And so there's still
Mm.
time. And that's why I call it a pre-gret, because it's not a regret. It's like a regret beforehand. And so you could make a choice today to change it, to course correct the regret that is actually going to happen if you don't do anything. So that I think is
Mhm.
crucial. And I think that really could start what becomes a version of a bucket list, like stuff I want to do. And by the way, I am a fan of recording things you want to do. And I record things that are ginormous, and I record things that are minute, like even down to eating, for example, a unique thing that you've never had before. Like I've never made, for example, a baked Alaska. And I
Mhm.
feel like I can't die before I make a baked Alaska dessert. So that's just
Mhm.
a silly example for illustration.
So do you call it a bucket list, or do
No,
you
well, it's
have
a
a
tab
different?
that I have on a spreadsheet that I call my Get Shit Going.
Okay.
spreadsheet with everything. So this one's more like just all the stuff. And so I don't think if I was on my deathbed, I would not be kicking myself because I didn't make a baked Alaska. So that's not the thing I'm going to do for sure this
Mhm.
week. But I do have things like we all do. So I just think you owe it to yourself to record it and make a list and then make your decision about, is this just a list that
Mhm.
is actually going to be fodder for discomfort later because it's another evidence of shit I haven't done? Or is it going to be like actually a guiding list about, okay, I did it and I checked this thing off because good for me. I went and did the sketching class and I always wanted to. Boom, I never want to sketch again, but I'm glad I did it. Good. But what about the big things? You have to put a date, Anyway, so
Mhm.
the pregrets is a really big chunk. We did already talk about making sure that we're tuning into living wider and deeper. So making
Yeah, and
choices to,
that's a really great I love the way you frame it as well because wider meaning, those maybe cheap and cheerful
Mhm.
things you were talking about.
Yeah.
So they're enhancing your life, but then the depth, of course, is the piece that I certainly feel passionate about,
Mhm.
from a spiritual perspective, the connection, yet both live together, right?
They
So
do.
that's yeah.
Well, some of them overlap, which I think is great. So I think about like back to the
Yes.
spiritual thing. So maybe there's an example, and I'm thinking of one from someone I used to work with who she wanted to go and explore like a church near her area because she's like, I really
Mhm.
want to get into God. And so she went and she was very scared to do it, but it ended up not only being a meaningful exercise for her on a spiritual level,
Yeah.
but she made such great friends that she'd go on, I think for her I think it was Sundays. She'd go and it would be like, we have so much fun. And then we go out after. And so this spirituality was also a vitality inducing effort.
Mm.
So sometimes we get two
Mhm.
for ones. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me too of I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Artist's Way. Part of it is going on these artist dates every week. So part of the program, I mean, there's morning pages, but then the artist dates. So a lot of what you've been talking about made me think of those artist dates. And I remember when I was doing it a while back, it's so fun and powerful. And the key thing is you're supposed to do them by yourself though.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it is an experience that you would do like stopping in that antique store that maybe you've seen, but you would not normally go in. But the idea is to expand your mind, to expand your heart, and to try new things, but also the that's where the width meets the depth part, right? Because in doing so, in connecting with your creative self, your creative energy, that is part of your spiritual connection.
Ah, I
So
love that.
it's cool. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Well, I guess rounding out part of the five, the fourth one is the idea about shaking things up in life and adding novelty.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
you just used a good example, like going into maybe the antique store. It's like we get into routines and habits, and they can serve us until they don't. And sometimes they just plain serve us, right? It's like if I have kids and you got to get a routine going to just make life happen. And amidst that, there are a lot of times where we glaze over and get into autopilot because, like, this is what we do on date night, or this is how a Saturday morning always looks, or this is my morning routine. Where it's like, well, what if you did shake it up just a little bit? What if you did
Mm.
have your coffee outside, or what if you did take a different route to work, or what if you did instead of always ordering that same thing at the restaurant, try something different? So these interspersements of variety allow us to experience life in a different way, which is why travel is just one of the best things we can do for our brains and our well-being. It's like exposure to not just new cultures and foods and experiences, but also just ways of living. Like your brain is doing something fascinating when it's like, wait, but my toothbrush normally goes over here. It's just shaking it up.
Mhm.
Don't underestimate
Mhm.
the impact from a well-being perspective on that. And then the fifth one we've touched on all throughout is this idea of, okay, in light of all this, in light of thinking about these pregrets, or how you want to live wider maybe, and or deeper, and I want to shake up and maybe do a different workout or shake it up. What is one small thing you want to do
Mhm.
with the understanding, again, the overarching theme is that you are a very slowly rotting corpse in the making. And in light of that, how do you want to do, what one small thing do you want to do in order to feel like, haha, I'm grabbing life by the balls?
Slowly rotting corpses. Okay. I love it. And yes, pick the one thing and come share with us too. Let us know what that one thing is, because I'm certainly feeling inspired to, again, revisit it, but from a different lens and from a place of aliveness. Like, that's the beauty of the message that you're sharing with us, is that our mortality is there to really wake us up, shake us up, as you were saying, into living life to the fullest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm. Well, thank you so much, Jodi. I feel like I, as always, could keep this conversation going, and I'm so grateful to you. Now, for people who are listening and want to learn more, they want to be a part of your world, what is the best place for them to connect with you?
I appreciate you even asking that. I'm over at 4000mondays.com. I have a weekly blog post, which I'd love for you to get in on. I always make it fun, and I always do a doodle, so there's that. And on Instagram at 4000mondays as well.
Beautiful. So we're going to be linking to to your website and your Instagram profile, your book as well. So your book on Amazon is the best place, or on your website, where's the best place to
Yeah, I
get
mean,
a
I,
copy of
I
your
think
book?
anywhere. I think you could, whatever your preference is. The website will take you there. Yeah. So wherever you
Yeah.
want to get your books. Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again for being here. And I want to thank you for listening. And as always, a reminder that you are spiritually wired, always, for love, for peace, for success, for aliveness. And we will see you next week. Thank you for listening to Spiritually Wired. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. It really makes a big difference for the podcast. And if you're ready to dive deeper and join a soul-led community, come be a part of the Spiritually Wired membership. With weekly life lessons and a rich library of recorded classes, it's designed to support you every step of the way on your spiritual journey. We currently have a special offer where you can receive your first month for half the price. You can find a link in the show notes, or come check it out at reneewalkerwellness.com. Until next time, remember to take some deep breaths. Remember that you are spiritually wired.